Welcome back, everybody. I hope you're all excellent. Today we're taking a look at the brand new Boss OC-5 pedal, the latest iteration in their octave pedal series. This started all the way back with the old Boss OC-2. I used to own a vintage OC-2 and I really liked it for its straight up octave down effect. That pedal was also very popular with bass players. For example, if you're doing a gig where you've got a 4-string bass in standard tuning and you need to get a low B or something like that, a lot of people would use something like the OC-2 as basically a quick on and off kind of pedal to get those low octaves. This basically builds on all of that and adds some really, really cool new features. There is a polyphonic mode, so you can have an octave down and an octave up, blend them in as much as you like in poly mode, as well as setting the range of the octave there, which I think is really, really cool. So if you just want octaves kind of on the low strings or something like that, but not necessarily on your high strings, you can set that up. The feature that I think is the coolest though is when you twist this knob right here, all the way down here, it will play an octave on just the lowest note on a chord. So I do a lot of gigs where I'm playing acoustic guitar, accompanying a singer. I might be doing some looping as well. Having the ability to have just that lowest note sound out an octave lower like a bass guitar is something that is basically the main selling point for the pedal for me. There is also a vintage mode, which will give you the option to have 2 octaves down, and you've got a guitar or a bass specific mode. There's also a direct out. So this kind of has all your bases covered when you need octave up and down effects. The way I'm going to do this is I've been playing around with this pedal for the last couple of days, and there's going to be a few different things. I'm going to do some acoustic looping so you can hear how I would use that in the context that I'm really excited about this pedal for. So we'll hear that. We'll also hear it on electric guitar, just jamming over some drums, the kind of typical setup I would use if I were just sitting here writing some riffs. This basically will generate bass guitar for me, which is pretty awesome. And then we'll start by just going over the main features and hearing some sounds. So let's do that. To get started, let's hear the vintage mode. We're going for some OC-2 tones. Of course, this can go beyond what the OC-2 does because you can also get an octave up. I'm just going to play around with the knobs. Sounds like this. Let's swap over to poly mode now. The really interesting thing about poly mode is the range control. I'm going to start with it all the way up and then I will dial it back eventually all the way until we get to that lowest note mode. Have a listen out for essentially how dense the octave effect sounds across the neck. Next, let's hear that lowest note mode, but on some distorted guitar. I have just played a simple drum groove from Steven Slate Drums, and I'm just going to jam over it and play some riffage in drop C. And this is what we get. Now, I said earlier that the reason I'm so pumped about this product is that lowest note feature for acoustic looping. So I'm going to give you a few different examples here. One, I'm just going to build a loop with some chords, so hopefully you'll be able to discern that lowest note in there just acting like a bass drone. Then I'll play something a little bit more kind of poppy and finger style, and you can hear that also in a loop. Enjoy. Lots of fun. As I said at the start of the video, the fact that it has that lowest note feature in poly mode basically just sells the pedal for me. If it did nothing else, I think it would still be worth it because that feature is so useful in a duo format playing acoustic guitar. But we also heard the vintage mode sounds great, especially having the ability to add that sub octave in there. The octave up sounds really solid, and the poly mode tracks really well. What more do you want out of an octave pedal? I think Boss have nailed it with the OC-5. A massive thank you to Ed and the rest of the team at Roland Australia for sending me this pedal on loan. I would not have been able to do this video without you. And to everybody else watching the video, let me know what you think of the OC-5 in the comments. Is this something that is on your radar as your next pedal purchase, and how would you use it? Would you use it for the vintage mode or the poly mode, or would you mostly use it like me for that awesome lowest note octave function? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.